Today on Sports Central, we go over 5 reasons why the Clemson Tigers will go on to win the ACC Championship and beat Notre Dame here on Saturday. And this is going to be a huge game for Clemson, especially if they're wanting to make it to the College Football Playoff. Because if you think about it, if Clemson loses this matchup, that makes them a 2-loss team, and that basically knocks them out of the top 4. So this will be a crucial game here for Clemson. We're going to be going over 5 reasons here today why they're going to beat Notre Dame and why Clemson's going to have the talent to be able to do so. And these reasons will be in no particular order. That being said, we're going to head into your number 1 reason, which will be Trevor Lawrence. There's no doubt that he should be on this list, as he is arguably the best quarterback in the nation when he's healthy. And Clemson this season did have to miss out on Trevor Lawrence for a couple of weeks. That was for the rematch as well. But that's for the first matchup between Notre Dame and Clemson. They did not have Trevor Lawrence in that matchup, and that's arguably a big reason why Clemson ended up losing that game to the Fighting Irish, is because they had to play with their backup quarterback the entire time, concerning Trevor Lawrence test positive. So that's been a big problem for Clemson this season, is staying healthy. I mean, we saw a couple of big defensive players also go out with COVID positives, and we saw that a couple of weeks ago as well. Good sign is for Clemson in this game, though. It looks as if right now that they're going to have the majority of their starting positions all filled up. So that's going to be really good for Clemson moving forward, especially in as crucial of a matchup as this one's going to be for Clemson, especially. I mean, once again, if this team loses in this game, it's hard to believe that Clemson will be in the top 4. So that's why it's also so crucial for Clemson here. But really, ever since he got back from COVID, he's been extremely dominant, and Clemson's been extremely dominant in general ever since Trevor Lawrence got back. I mean, if you look at their 2 games against Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech over the past few weeks, I mean, they absolutely destroyed both of those opponents by huge margins. Like, Clemson was putting up huge numbers, and honestly, I expect that to continue coming into this matchup against Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame's good, but I mean, I'm not sure if their defense can withstand how good Trevor Lawrence is and how accurate of a quarterback he can be, which in 2020, obviously his stats are kind of low, but you got to consider too, he did miss a couple of games, but he's got 2,400 yards on the season, 20 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, which once again is really not that bad, considering for one, it's a shorter season, and for 2, he also had to miss a couple of games out of it. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence has had a great season, and his accuracy is also way up there, so you got to consider that as well. But having Trevor Lawrence back for this game, especially against a Notre Dame team that you lost to before, is going to be huge moving forward. Like, Notre Dame faced a Clemson team that was missing some key components, and for Clemson to have Trevor Lawrence back, that's going to make a huge difference in the rematch. Number 2 is going to be the defensive line for Clemson. And of course, this team has definitely got one of the best defensive lines in the nation. I mean, if you look at the amount of rushing yards that this team has allowed, especially on the defensive side, the rushing defense has only allowed 102 average rush yards per game, which is an incredible stat line right there. I mean, any rushing defense that can allow around 100 yards is pretty incredible, let alone for the Clemson team. I mean, this defensive line has been playing very, very well all season. They've been extremely consistent, very healthy as well. I mean, this team has got the majority of their starters back still, and they've improved as the season has gone on as well. That's also something that you got to consider here, and that's going to be huge for the defense in this matchup, considering, I mean, you got to put pressure on Ian Book here in this matchup if you're going to beat Notre Dame, because I mean, Ian Book's also been a really good quarterback. Don't sleep on him moving forward. Like, I'm not saying he's on the same level as Trevor Lawrence, but Ian Book has had a good season. So for the defensive line, it's going to be very important to put pressure on him. Number 3 is going to be Travis Etienne, the running back for Clemson, and he has had a major impact on the offense this season. He's a great all-around player. He's put up some massive yards and some massive numbers this season. As you can see by his 2020 stats, he's put up nearly 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns on the season. So Travis Etienne is definitely one of the better running backs in the ACC, possibly even one of the better running backs in the entire nation. So that's also going to be something that Notre Dame's going to have to watch out for here, is that Trevor Etienne is as good of a running back as you can get. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing that Notre Dame's going to have to watch out for. But for Clemson, I mean, this is going to be a huge positive for you, because Travis Etienne has been as good as he ever has been. So I mean, once again, that's going to have a huge impact, especially on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's definitely had an impact on why Trevor Lawrence has been so successful over the years. I mean, if you look at how reliable Travis Etienne has been all season long, and he has not been turning over the ball hardly at all. So for him and for this team and for this offense in general, that's why they've been so successful. Number 4 is going to be the experience on the Clemson Tide. I mean, this team has won 5 straight ACC championships. They really have not had a single competitor in the ACC over the past 5 years, and it looks like they finally got one with Notre Dame, and it's still kind of up for grabs whether Notre Dame will stay in the ACC after the 2020 season, which I think it's the best move for Notre Dame to stay in there personally. But I think for Clemson, I mean, this is good for them to finally have some sort of competition, and for their strength of schedule to finally be raised a little bit. But I mean, this team has won 5 straight ACC championships. This team is extremely experienced with winning conference championships, and this is going to be what they may think to be a little bit of a walk in the park, really. I mean, considering like they've been in 4 of the last 5 national championships as well. I mean, this team has got a lot of experience, and Trevor Lawrence especially has got a ton of experience with all these high-pressure situations and with these huge games. And this is going to be huge for him. It's going to be huge for Clemson, and both. I mean, really for Clemson especially, this is a team that's got a lot of momentum and a lot of experience over the past few years, and I think that's going to come majorly to their benefit in this game here against Notre Dame. And lastly, number 5 is going to be DABO SWINNEY, the head coach of Clemson. He's had a ton of success with Clemson, and he's also a big reason why the experience is going to be a big factor in this one, because DABO SWINNEY has been very experienced with Clemson. He's won a national championship. He's won all sorts of conference championships, and he's got an overall record of 139-32 with Clemson. That just shows how successful he's been with this team, and you can definitely expect that for many years to come, I think. I mean, if he's got some great experience coaching through high-pressure games for sure. I mean, once again, that is very evident by how many championships he's played in and how many championships he's won in general. So really for DABO SWINNEY, yeah, he's going to be a huge part why if Clemson does win this game against Notre Dame, how it's going to happen. Because, I mean, once again, he's done a really, really good job. Like, there's no doubt. I mean, if you look at Clemson before DABO SWINNEY and afterward, I mean, there's been a huge difference here. He's as good of a head coach as you can get right now, and he's a big part of why Clemson has been so successsul. With that being said, that wraps up my 5 reasons why Clemson will beat Notre Dame. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on the game. Let me know your predictions for it as well. But yeah, I appreciate you guys all sticking around. I appreciate you guys all watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. Subscribe as well if you're not already yet, as it really helps with the channel, and really appreciate that. But once again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you all later.